You are welcome to HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. It has been a concern by many case analysts as well as supporters and fans of R. Kelly how media sensationalism and bias affected the narrative, further encouraging the already prejudicial jurors to unfairly judge the R&B King. While this concern has been raised a number of times and discussed, not many know the details of this, and the way this was systematically done to sabotage R. Kelly's efforts at a successful defense. While there are numerous stories out there in tabloids and online, there are stories that were never told exactly as they are. There are also stories of R. Kelly's success in court that were completely left out to the point that until today, not many know that he actually did win something in New York against a one-adult accuser, Kitty Jones, the woman who left her intern work as a radio DJ and presenter to become a mistress to the R&B King. When Kitty Jones realized she was clearly old when she met with Robert and could not fake her age like many others did, she chose to fake kidnap allegations, and it is because of her false claims that the story about girls held captives in R. Kelly's basement emerged. She lied, and in the process, she greatly tarnished R. Kelly's image in the eyes of many who did not get the chance to know that she actually did get busted. While many other accusers managed to sell their stories however false they were, it became very difficult for the already biased prejudicial jury to endorse Kitty Jones's locked up in the basement story, only because it was so obvious for someone who was critical to notice. And it was therefore going to be very difficult for such a story to check out without backfiring. According to what transpired in the trial transcript, with the hope to get money from this R. Kelly situation and to support her kidnap story, Kitty Jones, who was using pseudonym Sonja, told the federal court of Brooklyn that she was once abducted and held against her will for 3 days in the basement of R. Kelly's studio. Her version of the story, however, in a way differs from the real truth of what actually happened, but all the same, the jury found way too many gaps in this story, and knowing the government may fail to defend it at appeal level, they dismissed it and issued a not guilty verdict. But what was exactly wrong with Sonja's story that made it so horrible to an extent that the jury, which was already biased and prejudicial towards the R&B King, still wanted nothing to do with her? Kitty Jones testified that in 2003, when she was 21, she flew from Salt Lake City to Chicago thinking she was on her way to an interview that would jumpstart her career. Instead, she says she found herself locked up in a room and deprived of food and drink, yet records actually show that she had her phone all the time, managed to call her sister from the room, and even ordered Chinese food which was delivered to her. "I was scared, I was ashamed, and I was embarrassed," the now 39-year-old woman told the Brooklyn jurors. Kitty Jones told the jury that she first met with R. Kelly outside a mall in Utah, where the mature and adult radio intern heard Kelly was doing an appearance, and she approached him for an interview. "This was going to be my first big celebrity interview," she mentioned to court. "One I believed would kickstart my career," she added. Kitty Jones then says as soon as she arrived in Chicago, she immediately started off feeling uncomfortable when allegedly she was asked some strange questions by one of R. Kelly's employees at the studio. She continues to say she was then asked for her cell phone, and her recent call list was recorded, then made to sign a non-disclosure agreement which she claims she signed without reading through as the room was dark. It's so interesting how a woman who had allegedly arrived in Chicago to take an interview would be agreeing to signing an NDA, and worse still, sign it in the dark without reading anything that was written down. This is not normal for a 21-year-old woman of sound mind. If she feels by doing this she was only acting young and naive, then maybe R. Kelly should not be charged for events that allegedly took place during his early adulthood life as well. Just why is the government so determined to make R. Kelly pay for his relationships during his 20s and yet arraign a woman that met him in her 20s as a victim of anything? These are the double standards by government we have been speaking on ever since this channel started covering the case against R. Kelly. Sonja adds that as one employee looked through her luggage, she was then informed of the rules she had to follow while at the premise, which allegedly included not looking up or talking to anybody. Notice how a simple security check by a security operative at the studio is narrated as another employee going through her luggage in an effort to justify the bogus RICO allegations against R. Kelly. Of course, if anyone arrived at the studio office of any important person like R. Kelly, It's obvious that they would have to go through a thorough security check, which may involve checking one's bags. To make it appear as though it was a whole contingent of R. Kelly employees trying to make her life hard when she arrived at the studio, yet all they conducted was a simple security check, is just wrong from both the accuser and government. And this is part of their game, to have R. Kelly locked up and the keys thrown away. Sonja then says she was left alone in a room locked from outside in what she now describes as an act of kidnap, yet she actually had her phone with her full of charge enough to call 911, but instead preferred to call her sister and enjoy a private and casual conversation with her in a relaxed mood. She also managed to call a Chinese restaurant nearby and order something to energize her body, yet claimed she was afraid of calling the police, which would have rescued her if she was really troubled. She claims she was frightened when she realized she was locked in, but frightened as she says she was, she managed to call her sister and have a chit-chat conversation that had nothing to do with her alleged situation, and again frightened, she managed to find the appetite to order Chinese food, which was delivered to her. Just how foolish did this 39-year-old woman think the jurors, in case critics were to believe such a vague story of kidnap? It's actually stories like hers which caused R. Kelly to be prejudiced by the jurors who had listened to the same lies while watching the Surviving R. Kelly documentary, only for such stories to get to court and sound like a children's storytime fairy tale filled with a series of magical events only meant to entertain listeners. To make the story even more interesting to listen to, she made mention of banging the doors and demanding to be let out, all in vain, but quickly forgets and adds how she was always let out of the room and escorted to the bathroom whenever she needed to ease herself. She also mentions an employee of R. Kelly demanding that she leaves her bathroom door open whenever she walked in to ease herself. She couldn't say a word without making mention of an R. Kelly employee, making many think she could have been briefed on what to say by government prosecutors who so much wanted to justify the inappropriate RICO charges that would secure a longer sentence. Despite being hungry with nothing to eat for a long time, she stated that after being fed on the Chinese delicacy she actually did order herself and a cup of Sprite. She became too full and weak only to wake up and find her underwear hanging on the couch arm, and the sight of Kelly seated in the corner, and to sign she had been abused. It felt like something had been inside me, she added. I know my body and I know when something is not right, she concluded. The question remains, if she knew well she had come to the studio not to sleep with R. Kelly but to do an interview, why would she stay in a room alone and not call 911 for her rescue when she was in possession of a fully charged phone? If she claims she was afraid of calling the police, when she spoke to her sister, why did she not mention of the situation she was allegedly in and ask her to find help? Was she afraid of her sister too? Why don't we hear of any attempts to escape from the premise, with all the walks to the bathroom and food delivery, all of which created great opportunities to give a shot at an escape? It's no wonder this story did not compel anybody to think that any such thing did happen. A 21-year-old adult woman who doesn't know when to call 911 doesn't sound real, especially when 5-year-olds can remember to do it when they feel cornered and in danger. There is no doubt Kitty Jones was only trying to frame R. Kelly as a rapist, but she didn't succeed. And she was also on a mission likely deployed by government to try and justify their RICO allegations against the R&B king. Thankfully she did not succeed with this lie, but unfortunately, many like her managed to get away with their lies, leading to the wrongful conviction that R. Kelly is now dealing with in the Court of Appeals. If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us on sashahnnewsroom@gmail.com for scheduling. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.